Hey folks, this is Kalani. Quite a few people were asking about stat weights and how exactly to calculate them because your stat weights are going to change with every single piece of gear you equip. So if you're relying on a static stat weight imported from wherever, chances are you could actually be doing it wrong. So if you want to do the most DPS and equip the gear which is going to give you the most DPS, you're going to need a few additions to your game. So you're going to need 2 add-ons and you're going to need to download something out of the game. So we'll get to that in a bit, but what this is going to let you do is essentially you'll loot a piece of gear and you'll be able to see instantly whether it is an upgrade for your desired spec. So let's say, for instance, I have this A80 ring, Grasping Tentacle Loop. It's got my best stats, haste and mastery. It's all nice and dandy, but I happen upon this 875 ring with a socket. Now, it's lower item level, obviously, but it still has haste, mastery, and it has that bonus socket. So how do you go about deciding whether that's an upgrade? Well, it's going to let you, and it will give you that nice plus 6% upgrade that you can see below the item. So that's the right item to equip. Now, as I say, you're going to need 2 add-ons. These are SimulationCraft and Pawn. So there's SimulationCraft and there's Pawn. So go ahead and download those from Curse or anywhere you really want to get your add-ons, I guess. I'll link them to Curse in the description below, and then you'll also need to go to a website. That website would be simulationcraft.org. Now, this is the website, and you will need to download SimulationCraft. So to do that, without getting into any of the bits and pieces, which you'll probably need to be a little bit of a veteran with this piece of software to get into, you want to go down here and install Windows 64-bit, get the 64-bit installer if you're on 64-bit, which you probably will be at this point, and if you're not, do the 32-bit installer. Just download one of those and install it, and then when you run it, you'll come to this screen. And this is SimulationCraft. Now, you can import your character in a variety of ways. Just go up to the top here, import. You can do it with Armory, you can do it with BattleNet if this is working, I guess, but the easiest and the best way, honestly, is to do it with this one at the end, SimC add-on. Now, we're going to have to pop back to the game, and when you have the SimulationCraft add-on, you can simply type /SimC, and what that will do is give you an import string for your character exactly as it is. So, if we haven't done this before, you just want to use it with the set of gear that you're most comfortable with, probably the highest item level gear that you have, and then we'll go ahead and copy that. And then back in SimulationCraft, we're going to get rid of this, paste it in. That's our character in SimulationCraft language, I guess. That's how we're doing. Bear in mind, if you swap your spec about, this will automatically swap your spec, so there's no options really to tick here, there, and everywhere. And then we're going to import it. So I've got a lot at the top, because I've been simulating quite a few different pieces of gear. So usually it's going to be the end one. So this is our current import, and we're going to go to options very quickly because we want our stat weights, and these aren't enabled by default. Now, in here you can play about with all sorts of things. You can play about with the number of iterations that will simulate, essentially. So obviously, one run of a specific boss, you could get super lucky and you can get all the procs and you can do an absurd amount of damage, right? And then the next time you go in there, you could get no procs at all and you're bottom of the barrel, even though that's not necessarily where you are actually, you just got unlucky that time. What this does is runs your character in a simulation for this number of times. So obviously the higher here, the better, because that's going to give you a more accurate average. You want to stick typically with 10,000 or 25,000 unless you have a very fast computer, because it tends to take a while past that. So I stick to 25,000, and then we have length of the fight and the variable. This is default to 320% variable, which is perfectly fine. That's usually what some fights are. Obviously, if you're burning fights ridiculously quickly, you can take this down. Don't necessarily need to change any of this so far, but again, when you get used to it, then you can come back and play with it as you wish. Then up at the top, we also have scaling. Now, this is where you want to go to get your stat weights. So you enable scaling, and because I'm a hunter, I go with agility, crit, haste, mastery, and versatility, because they're the only ones we can really change. And then we can go up to the top and simulate. So remember to pick the one that you just imported and go down to the bottom and hit simulate. And when you're done, it'll spit out something like this. So if you're not really interested in delving too deep, you just want your DPS and you just want your stat weights, then you've got two things really to be concerned with. You've got your DPS up here, so obviously the higher that is, the better. If that ever goes down, then the piece you just equipped is probably not good for you. And then we also have the pawn string here. So what we're going to do is copy this, and then pop back to the game, and we're going to type /pawn. Now, this gives you the pawn screen. Again, if you just want to know how to import and get something working for you very quickly, you go to import. If you want to change the name of it, you paste it in and then go to the very front, and we change what's in the quotation marks here. So change it from Kalani, we'll change that to test video. Should be the exact same as my current weights, but we'll see. And then whenever you get an item from now, you can see whether it's an upgrade or not. So with these current weights, if I throw this back on, we can see that my current weights tell me that this is a 5% upgrade. The ones, from previous is a 6%, so you can see how this differs quite a bit depending on what you actually have equipped. So what we can do here is we'll run another simulation to show you that we've got a bit of a difference depending on what gear we have equipped. So we'll run it with the old ring, the 880 ring. So different stats are worth different amounts with this ring equipped because it's an upgrade over my previous one, so it can change the value of crit, haste, mastery and versatility, which means every single piece of gear you equip, you should then simcraft your character again and import new scaling. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to get really outdated stat weights and you could end up replacing a good item with a worse item simply because that's not what your stats give you anymore. So very easy to do, very easy to say those two add-ons and get SimulationCraft, and you can start playing the numbers game. That is, let's do the top DPS with whatever class you have. The only thing you need to be careful of is you need to keep SimulationCraft up to date. So especially a new patch, make sure you check back every 2 days maybe. After that, when things have settled down, maybe every week or so, get that updated SimulationCraft. Otherwise, your simulations themselves could be outdated and it could be giving you wrong numbers. But if you want to calculate your own stat weights and see at an instant if an item is an upgrade, that's how you can do it very easily. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.